right, folks, John Rush here for Drive Radio. My son Richard Rush is behind the camera. This is the review of the all-new 2016 Kia Sportage. I just went to the launch on this vehicle out in the San Diego area, so I've got a little bit of insight in it. That's why I've got a ton of notes with me that we'll talk about. Just had this car for a week, so I've driven this car 2 times now, and I will tell you, the more I drive it, the more I'm falling in love with it. This particular vehicle that we're going to show you today has the 2-liter turbo engine, which at our altitude, I will say this, drove this exact car, I think it was even the same color, might have been the exact same car in California at sea level, drove it up here at our elevation, 5,600 feet of elevation, and I'll tell you what, couldn't hardly tell a difference in the power. That's how well the turbo works on this car. Tell you what, let's take a quick walk around the car. I'll give you some of the specs of this vehicle. Again, this is all new Sportage 2016. This is the all-wheel drive version that we've actually got in front of us. I'll give you some fuel economy numbers real quick. On the all-wheel drive with a 2-liter engine, it's 21 miles per gallon, which we actually did better than that. 23 miles per gallon with the front-wheel drive. On the 2.4-liter engine, it's 26 on a front-wheel drive, 23 on an all-wheel drive. This car, though, has been totally redone. By the way, real quick, just as a side note, Kia, number 2 in JD Power studies, number 6 in Consumer Reports. They do better on customer service than most other brands. They've won 7 motorsports championships. Kia is not the same company that you would have thought of them years ago. And as I walk around the back here, one thing that we'll just quick show you, because the key fob is in my pocket, you hear a few beeps, and guess what's going to happen? The gate will just open automatically. So I was around the front, walked to the back, and you'll notice the rest of the vehicle is still locked. You can tell that by the way the side mirrors are still tipped in. Great room in the back, which we'll get into in a minute, but I wanted to show you as I was walking around the back just how great that feature is. One of the things that Kia Hyundai, I love the fact you just walk up to the car, 3 beeps, opens up for you. Fantastic. Another thing we should note, and Richard, my son, noted this a minute ago, we've had several different people in and around this vehicle. This car, as it sits, I'll give you the price in a second. We were asking people as we were driving, what do you think this car costs? Most people were guessing low 40s, mid 40s. This car, as it sits, and we'll get into how well equipped it is in just a minute, $34,000 and some change, and you can start out on a Sportage in the high 20s. I'll talk about the way the all-wheel drive works when we get into the driving portion, but I'll tell you what, we'll stop the camera for a minute. I'll show you the rear storage compartment that we just opened up a second ago. We'll go through the rest of the interior, take a drive, give you our opinion of the 2016 all-new Kia Sportage. All right, folks, as we came around the walk around, you notice this back hatch open because I had the key fob in my pocket. Let's get into the interior of it, though, and show you how much actual room is back here. This back room area, they have increased the cargo room in this particular model 18%. It's got the smart lift gate, which I talked about. It's got a lower lift over height as you look to the back here and you go to lift things over. It's got a lower height to actually get things in and out of the car. It's wider than it was before. I can open up this rear compartment and you'll notice there's some room underneath even to store some different things in here, which is kind of a slick thing. You could put some med kits, some tools, some things that you're going to keep in the car ongoing that you don't want rolling around and in your way. You could put right back in here. There's even a couple of storage compartments back under here that you can also do the same thing with. But lots and lots of cargo room back here. Lots of area to put things in. You'll notice there's some little hooks back here. You can't get an optional privacy screen for this, which works out really well, or netting, I guess I should say. But really, an overall, I hope you're telling, overall great car. Really enjoyed this car a lot. And my son Richard was commenting on how great the styling. I didn't get into this when we did the walk around the front end, but how great the styling of the front end is and the overall athletic appearance of the car. They've really done a great job. Let me hop in the back seat here. Let me show you what's in the rear seat. And it's got a nice roomy, oh, I guess I better unlock it, which is really cool. Didn't have to pull the key fob out, just go touch the button. As I climb in the back seat, you'll notice I'm 5'10". This seat is all the way back. I've got plenty of leg room, plenty of room behind me. It's got a center console that folds down. You can put three full people here in the back. Some cargo netting in front of you here. There's a couple of power ports down in front and vents coming out to the back. Nice apportionments throughout. Now, is it got full soft touch material throughout? Of course not. This car is designed to be in the high 20s, low 30s. This car is not meant to be a full luxury vehicle. This is a Kia Sportage. They've upped some of the amenities on the interior. They've done a great job, but it's not a luxury vehicle, but you're not paying for a luxury vehicle either. Access, egress inside and out is great. One thing we will get into in the driving portion in a minute is this panoramic sunroof. I don't have it open right now, but you can see the cloth all the way back. One of the best features on this car as far as I'm concerned. Let me jump over to the front seat and we'll continue. All right, folks, in the front seat now of the, again, 2016 all-new Kia Sportage. I'll have Richard show you the side panel over there. A few more soft touches as you get into the front of the vehicle. So they've done a nice job on the soft touch material, especially as we move forward into the forward cabin portion. Nice, sleek interior they've done as far as the dash is concerned. Center stack works well. Everything is within arm's reach. That part I really, really enjoy. They've laid out the steering wheel extremely well. We've talked about that in the past. Nice flat bottom, gives it kind of a racing feel steering wheel to it. Everything paddle shifters, very, very easy to control. All the climate controls, which again, Kia, thank you. I do like the physical buttons. This has the UVO system in it, which we'll talk about in the driving portion in just a minute. But I like the fact that you can touch buttons and do whatever you need to do. That is a great feature. Seats, very comfortable. They've done a good job on that. Nice storage throughout. There's cup holders here in the middle, in the door panels. It's got a decent sized console in the middle. Place in the middle here, which is nice. Your phone can fit right in here, or your phone can go up here in this other cubby. Either one works well. There is a USB port here. There's also another charge port next to it and a charge port next to that. Auxiliary input. Heated and ventilated seats and heated steering wheel. Again, keep in mind, this car is $34,000 and some change, this model, and you can get this car for a lot less. Look at the panoramic sunroof one more time as we're in here. I'm not sure we were able to show that much before now, and it'll be a little harder to show during the driving portion. One of the greatest features on this cars, and anybody that rode with us, that's one of the first things they commented on, was if they were in the back seat legroom, and the fact the panoramic sunroof made it feel a lot more open on the inside. We had one person riding it over the weekend that was well over 6 feet, I think 6'4", fitted in the back seat just fine. Plenty of legroom, plenty of headroom. So those of you that are taller, keep that in mind. This is a car that might work well for you. We've got a really good friend of ours that has a hard time buying cars because of how large, tall he is. This car even works for him. So something to keep in mind. Tell you what, I'll get Richard in the back seat. We'll go take a quick drive, and then I'll give you my opinion of the 2016 2016 Kia Sportage. All right, I'm going to mix up my opinion and the driving portion sort of all at the same time because I've got a few other facts and figures I also want to give you. Now, some of you would say, what's the comparison on the Hyundai side to this car? Because we all know Kia Hyundai, you know, same company. This compares to, I would guess, the smaller Hyundai SUV. But the reality is, and what Kia talked about in the launch that we went to, is you won't find the Hyundai version of this car. You won't find the same powertrain. Kia, they're doing some different things where Kia gets its own powertrain, its own horsepower, the 2-liter turbo, you know, all those different things, which the 2-liter turbo is 240 horsepower. It's got a smaller turbo, winds up faster. That's what's in this car, all-wheel drive. And I will tell you what, the car works phenomenal. Richard, my son, talked about how much power it has. The car is very quiet on the inside. They've done some great things in this car to actually make it stiffer, make it more rigid. They're using a high, just call it really a high strength glue, if you would. They're using that now to assemble some of the components together. They're using a lot of that glue in different parts. It makes things much stiffer. They're able to use different materials that way. Again, the front end on this car, totally all new. The ice cube headlights, they call them, really work well. Dual exhaust coming out the back. Let me talk to you real quick before we take the drive on how the all-wheel drive portion of this particular vehicle works. I actually got to talk to the engineers behind the Dynamax system that actually runs the all-wheel drive portion. So the way this works is it's a front-wheel drive car. It's got a transaxle in the front. It's got a drive shaft that always spins to the back, the same as what it would be going to the front wheels. When it gets to the back differential, there's literally a coupling device on the drive shaft in front of the differential that tells it how much to engage the rear differential, and it does it instantaneously. In fact, it is so smart that it actually anticipates the way you're going to be driving and what you're going to be doing, and it adjusts before you even drive that way. So it's taking lots of inputs from everything you're doing, how you're driving, how fast you're driving, what are the conditions outside, what are the temperatures, all those things combined into one. It's then deciding when should I engage that rear axle and how much of it should I actually engage. It's a very, very sophisticated, non-serviceable component that's going to give a lifetime of use. And I tell you what, after listening to these guys, you're going to see that equipment on more than just Kia and Hyundai. It's a fantastic system that's now being developed for Audi and a number of other manufacturers. So if anybody out there thinks that Kia is a subpar brand, it is not. They're using componentry that's on a lot of vehicles that cost way more than what they do. Shows you the quality you're getting if you go out and buy a Kia vehicle. Now, am I a Kia salesperson? Absolutely not. Am I getting paid by Kia? Absolutely not. What I'm telling you is, for the money, the value of this particular car, $34,000, and you look at how much room's inside of this car, my son asked me earlier, Dad, why don't you just buy one of these instead of a Grand Cherokee for Mom? Honestly, if this car had existed versus the Grand Cherokee, I probably would have bought this car because it would have cost me, $7,000, $8,000 less, and I've got just as much room, if not more, inside of this car than I do her Grand Cherokee, and I don't get the panoramic sunroof with that. So let's take a quick drive. As I put it in reverse, you'll notice it does have the dynamic grid lines. So if I want to get a little bit closer to the curb line over here, all I do is watch the lines, and I can get right on that curb line, right on that concrete pan, if you would. Works out fantastic. It's got great view. It's good to look out of, and this vehicle can tow up to 2,000 pounds. So if you're going to back into a trailer, you could actually see all of that at that time also. We've been averaging in this car with the turbo engine, and Richard's been the last one to drive it, not me. So you have to base this on him, not me, because I do about 2 miles to the gallon better. He's at 22, which means I'd be at 24. Not bad for a high horsepower turbo engine vehicle, all-wheel drive to boot. So this car works great. We had some snow last week, and this car worked fantastic in the wet weather that we had. In fact, it was so slick on Friday morning that you couldn't, people were getting in wrecks, and they were all over the place. This car in that weather would work fantastic with, of course, the right set of tires, and that's something you'll have to deal with on your own. Let me be quiet here, and you can just listen to the interior noise. I should say, or the lack of interior noise is what I really should say. This car, again, for the price, it's one of the quieter SUVs that I've driven. And I'll tell you right now, compared to my wife's Grand Cherokee, which is only a year old, this car is quieter than the inside of her Grand Cherokee. And in that car, I picked that Grand Cherokee out because I liked that car, thought it was a great car, works well. You know what? I'm having second thoughts. This particular vehicle that we're driving right now works extremely well. And it's a tough car to beat. And the plus side of the four-wheel drive portion of it is it's all automatic. You can do some things here on the center console where you can change the drive modes. It's got a downhill mode. You can lock the differential in where it does lock it front to back. There's some things like that you can do similar to what you've got with the Jeeps. The difference between the Jeep and this, I'll just say it as it is, you're not going to go off-roading and do the things in this that you would in the Jeep. The Jeep's going to give you better approach angles, departure angles, higher center of gravity, things like that. You're not getting that here. But most people buying this car are not buying it to go off-road. So what are the cons to this vehicle? I think the looks are going to be one of those where people either love it or they hate it. I haven't heard too many negatives on the car, but I think it's going to have looks that people either love or hate. Outside of that, I have a hard time putting any cons towards this car. It works really, really well. The only other thing that my son Richard commented on, it's got all the safety features on it that you need: blind spot monitoring, lane departure, automatic braking, all those different things. We wish it had adaptive cruise and lane keep assist. That's about the only cons that we've got. They've got the technology. It's on a lot of their other vehicles. They could easily incorporate it into what's going on here. It's just a matter of price. So Kia, if you're listening, that might be something you want to add on as even an additional package. But outside of that, it's a great vehicle. Go check out the new 2016 Kia Sportage at your local Kia dealer. Tell them John and Richard Rush from Drive Radio sent you.